Hey everyone, this is Austin Bateman of Real Estate One. I'm here with my financial advisor, Brian Cross. He is a wonderful and very intelligent resource when it comes to finances. I'm glad that you could be here today, Brian. Why don't you introduce yourself just a little bit more?
Yeah, thanks, Austin. Thanks for having me on here. Brian Cross, financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. And Austin has been a client for a little over a year now. So we've been able to put some really good things together for him. And hopefully you all can take a little bit away from our conversation today.
Oh, they will. They definitely will, Brian. Like I said, he's a swath of information. Um, Everyone knows what's going on in the world. COVID-19 is a global pandemic. It's created quite a stir in many markets and economies. What are your thoughts on kind of this man-made uh, recession?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a roller coaster over the last, we'll call it 9 to 12 weeks. As far as impact on the market, obviously this is the first time that in our lifetime we've ever experienced anything like this. But when we look at kind of financial history or market history, the downturn is very cyclical, right? And it typically happens every 8 to 12 years. Not because of this per se, but the market drop that we experienced, roughly 8 to 12 weeks ago, what was a cyclical normal drop.
So you don't, I mean, other than COVID-19 coming in and the timing, you just think that we were due for one anyway?
Yeah, overall, I mean, I think prior to COVID-19 and the Dow dropping, we were a little bit overinflated anyway. So we were due for this. Again, I think over the last 8 to 10 years, it has been an all-time high in the stock market. And it really just, it wasn't prepared or it couldn't keep going in that direction. So even though it stings a little bit, yeah, this last market drop was somewhat needed.
That's a fair point. I mean, I can see that things were really high. I know that a lot of people lost a lot of money in the markets, but it seems like it's coming back and bouncing back in the right direction at this point. I know for younger people like me and a lot of the people that are going to watch this video are probably going to benefit from this. We're just now really diving into retirement savings,
Mhm.
throwing money around in the markets. So I know that I made a contribution a few months ago, and Brian called and he said, "Hey, there's a specific move I want to make with your money. I just want to run it by you because it was here yesterday and now it's here today, and even if it keeps going down, it's going to come back up eventually." And we had a quick talk on the phone. I said, "Throw it in there. Let's see what happens." And it's already positive. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, no,
it's definitely going to benefit people like me the most right now.
yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty. Just we're all human, so it's that uncertainty that causes a little fear. But I will say that this is a very opportunistic time for a lot of people. A lot of wealth will be made with this market drop. And again, that's investing 101 is buy when the market is low. And if you were in a position, you had the resources, to your point, Austin, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that come out of this, better off financially than we entered it.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned people who can afford to kind of take advantage of this time. What about for the people who maybe have been furloughed or laid off? What are some things that they can be doing now to hopefully prevent a poor financial situation for them? And if this happens again, or maybe if a second wave of coronavirus comes through, what are some things that people who can't really make those moves now, what can they do?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and it really revolves back around to, having a solid financial plan. And a lot of times people, when they think of financial plan, they think of the one side, the investment side, right? The wealth building side. Whether it's I want to buy a new home, or I want to save for kids' college, or I want to plan for retirement. And that's a very important part of the overall financial plan. But I think there's this other side, and it's the defensive side of planning, right? What happens when life throws us a curveball? And I think of a financial plan having really four key components, and we would just call that the foundation. And first is making sure that we have adequate health care, right? That can definitely devastate a family financially. The second thing I think of is emergency fund, right? In the event that something happens where I get sick, injured, I get furloughed, I get laid off, do I have enough money in reserve? Do I have enough cash flow that I can support myself or support my family for a certain amount of time? I think of protecting my income, right? My family depends on, my ability to go to work and bring in money so we can provide those things. And I need to make sure that I have as much of my income protected as possible, not just what my employer may give me. And then the fourth kind of foundational piece I think about is life insurance. Income continuation, right? Is my family going to be okay in the event that, something bad happens? And really those four things is where I would start with any financial plan. And we would really just consider that the defensive side.
Yeah. And I know it's going to be tough for some people now. Maybe they're furloughed and maybe not bringing in the money they were. But these are things that Brian helped me set up. Luckily, before all this happened, all four of those defensive, financial things that we can do. And I have an emergency fund. Luckily, I haven't had to use it throughout all this. I have health insurance, and I have a life insurance policy. Both my fiance and I have another one. And for being as young as I am, I'm 27, turning 28 this year, and I got all these things set up just over a year ago, and it's actually really affordable. It's very, very affordable for how young I am to get all these things started now. It's not costing me hundreds of dollars a month. I mean, I think all in, I'm paying less than $75 a month to have a life insurance policy, multiple life insurance policies, and just making sure that I'm taken care of and my fiance is taken care of, my family's taken care of. And, just having all those things put together, thanks to Brian, I'm comfortable in this economy. And obviously I'm very fortunate enough to be able to do those things. And that's why having you on here, Brian's great, because there are a lot of people like me where we're still luckily still employed and can still do these things. But for the people who aren't, now they know what they can do when they do get back on their feet. So now looking forward, when everyone does get back on their feet, or for the people who are very fortunate to have everything kind of just coasting through this pandemic, what are some things that we can do to build that wealth you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, hey, exactly. And you made a great point, right? You've already taken the necessary steps to build that foundation. And in a financial plan, that's we spend about 10% of our time just securing and making sure that those things are set. And then the rest is spent on exactly that, right? Depending on what's important to you. That's how I would build a financial plan, is first discovering, what is my client, what are they trying to do, what things are important, and then developing a plan around that, making sure that they are taking full advantage of their employer sponsored retirement plan. There are a lot of tools and strategies out there that the average person just doesn't know that's available to them. And I often tell my clients, most people don't do the things that they know they should be doing, let alone all of the things out there that can help them build wealth.
Yeah. And one thing that we've been working on is not just taking advantage of the things that employers offer, which I'm 1099 contractor. There's only so much that my company provides, but for my fiance, she's taking advantage of everything that they have. And then we're also, working on things with Brian here at Northwestern Mutual as well. And retirement savings aside, you know, I want to get more into the life insurance side of this too, because right now I've heard and I've talked to other people that work in your field, and they're saying that COVID-19 might not be something that's covered on future life insurance policies. And I just want to get your take on that. Is this even a big deal? Is it something that people should worry about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would just go back to really talking about life insurance. And a lot of people don't realize this, but life insurance that you get on your own, a personal policy such as yours, it's unlike your work, right? Or unlike your employer, whereas if you're employed and your employer offers it, you just kind of get it as a benefit. With a personal life insurance policy, you have to qualify for it. And the qualification is the younger you are and the better health that you're in, the more affordable it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, right? Naturally, as we age, right, things happen, right? Whether it's, this is a general, assumptions, right? We start to gain weight. Our blood pressure moves, our sugar maybe goes up, or all these things, right, that gradually happen over time, just increase the cost of a life insurance policy, right? And believe it or not, some people can get to a point where they're uninsurable, and a lot of times it's not, these very serious things. It's just a lot of little things stacked up on each other that can cause that, right? I would even say I call them blips, right? Blips on your health. Say you go to your doctor for an annual physical, and your sugar's a little high, and he says no big deal, right? We'll monitor it. We're not going to put you on any medication. But we'll just check it again next year and see how it is. And you go about your day like everything is normal. Well, an insurance company looks at that as a major red flag, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now they just bumped up the cost of your insurance. And if you get enough of those, that's where you get to this point where it doesn't matter how much you want it, how bad you need it. If you can afford it, it doesn't matter. You're uninsurable. So I would recommend getting, locking in that insurability. The younger, the better.
Good. And just staying on topic with what's going on in the world here, does having COVID-19, if you're trying to take out a life insurance policy now and maybe you had COVID-19 or currently have it, does that make you uninsurable?
Yeah, I think the landscape of that side of financial planning, I think COVID-19 is going to have an impact, and we've already seen companies that are making changes in their contracts in those life insurance policies because of COVID-19. So again, just like anything else, I don't know when we come out the other side of this, what that will look like. But that's why it's even more important to, get those things in place before there are major reform or major changes.
Yeah. And Brian, it's been the topic of all of our conversations, going back a year, almost two now, is just doing what we can now, having the defensive foundation, so that you can grow your wealth. And the takeaway from this video specifically would be, when you can, I know that some of us don't have the financial affordability now, but when we can, to set all these things up, those four defensive foundational building blocks that we talked about earlier, just do them now, right? Don't wait until you get in a car accident to get car insurance, right? Don't
Right.
wait until you're sick to to get a life insurance policy. And I know that we talked about a few other things off camera, but I want to add to doing the preventative stuff and doing them now while you can.
Mhm.
Is right now in the world, we're not driving as much, especially here in Michigan. I've put on maybe 300 miles in the last 8 weeks.
Right.
And now that I'm essential, those have gone up, but I'm still not driving anywhere. I usually spend $250 a month on gas. I've spent 50 in the last 2 months.
Mhm.
Uh, it- while we're not spending money that we normally do on a daily basis, live below your means.
Right.
I think I've spent like, over the last 2 months, I think I've spent maybe a week's worth of expenses when before all this. And it's doable. I don't need anything. I haven't been spending money randomly. So, do what you can now, like Brian says, and then live below your means, especially while we're young and when
Mhm.
we can. All right.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Brian, again, thanks for coming on. This was very good. I think it's going to help a lot of people, my age, but also for a lot of people who maybe don't have any of this in place already. So thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate it, and I hope it helped.
Oh, it did. All right, Brian, go ahead and plug your contact information, and I'll also put it in the description. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No. Again, Brian Cross, financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. And the best way to contact me today is because I'm working remotely. Is my cell phone is 248 506 0007. And then again, my office, when I get back to it, is located right in Troy, Michigan.
It's a great spot right
Yeah.
there at 75 and Crooks and Big Beaver. Great
Yep.
spot. All right, thanks, Brian.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin.